Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm gonna be making my review on the Aesthetic Wars. But before that, let me get some information out of the way. So, the Aesthetic Wars, the Academy City on the Water, is a 2-season anime as of now of this video that aired from October 3rd, 2015 to June 18th, 2016, which is actually pretty recent. It just finished airing when, about a week it finished airing when I started watching it, but and as of now there's only a sub to it for the 2 seasons as of this video, but the dub will be released with the Blu-ray release, which is going to be on September 20th, 2016. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's get to the review. Alright, so the Asterisk War, the Academy City on the Water. Now, the story goes sort of like this. In this story, in the 20th century, several meteor impacts hit the Earth, destroying several cities around the world, which, it was pretty bad. But with these meteors, this new element came with them onto Earth. And this element binded with human DNA, which allowed humans to have magical abilities. So it's a pretty interesting way to deliver the use of magic in the show, in my opinion. And this event was called the Invertia event. So because of this event, and now humans being able to use magic, a city on the water was built, and in this city 6 schools were built around them so that students with abilities could go to them and study how to use their powers, to develop their powers while they're in these schools. And from here, this is where the story starts and takes off with our main character, AYATO AMAGIRI. So, our protagonist, AYATO AMAGIRI, he comes into this city and schools with a scholarship, which apparently is something very big. And of course, even here, coming to a school with a scholarship, college and high school, it's a pretty big deal. But there are 6 schools, but the one he comes into is called SEIDOUKAN, sorry for the name, SEIDOUKAN Academy. And from there, the story really starts off by him meeting several people, making several friends, and having very interesting interactions with other characters, mainly females, of course. So, since I mentioned our protagonist, AYATO AMAGIRI, I'll be moving on to the characters. So, the characters in the Asterisk War are, there are a lot of characters, mainly females, of course, sort of like a harem, but let's get to them. So, I've mentioned our protagonist, AYATO AMAGIRI. So, AYATO AMAGIRI, at the beginning of the show, he comes off as a very cliche kind of character. Meaning, the nice guy, the guy that goes out of his way to be nice without an explanation because he's nice. And the reason he came to this school is he kind of wants to find out what he wants to do and what's his purpose. But really, he's there to look for his sister, which disappeared several years back due to, in the school, they have sort of events called fiestas, which are pretty much battles between students. And somehow his sister got involved in one of them, but in a legal form where you either fight to the death or you fight when you go unconscious. But in the schools, when you fight, you go to battle with these little badges that if it gets cut or it's destroyed, you lose or you go unconscious. But his sister was involved in illegal form, kind of. But in that time when she did it, it wasn't illegal. But now it is. Well, as of the show. But anyways, back to him. Like I said, in the beginning of the show, he does come off as a very cliche kind of guy, and he is to an extent though. He's not as cliche because I like the way in the show it is 24 episodes, so he does get enough time to share with some of with the other characters. We are able to see several backstories or flashbacks to his past with, again, a couple of students, and with the way he interacts with some of the characters is very interesting, and I'll get to it a little bit more when I talk about other characters. Next, we have, I might have to read it off my notebook because her name is really long, but she is the main interest to our main character, if you want to say that, but her name is pretty long, okay, so bear with me. Her name is, her name is long. Julius Alexia Marie Fertinia Renate von Resfeld. Julius, for short. She is the main interest, I guess, of our protagonist, like I said. But she's introduced very early on the show, the first episode, when their meeting is kind of cliche. He walks in on her while she's changing, and he gets slapped. They get into it. They get into a battle. But as the show goes on, they definitely become very good partners, very good friends. And this is shown by AYATO and Julius becoming partners in the Phoenix Fiesta. And Fiesta isn't, like I said, Fiesta isn't like, the fiesta we know, like in Spanish, party. No, Fiesta is pretty much battles. And they become partners. So, throughout the show, I definitely like how they are partners. They're very good partners. And back to Julius, I definitely liked her character. In the beginning, she comes off as very tsundere-like, but throughout the show, we definitely get to see several sides to her. Like, in these fiestas, if you win, you get your wish granted, as long as it can be materialized in this world. And the reason she's fighting for it is definitely a very interesting thing she's doing, because she does come off as self-centered and bratty, but the reason she's fighting is out of a selfless wish, which I don't want to get into because it's spoilers, but I definitely like the way she fought for, or for whom. Now a little information on Julius. She is a princess, and that's a little something I had a little bit of issue with. Julius, with all her last names, you can tell she's not Japanese, she's European. And a bit of an issue I had with the show was that it would have been very interesting, better, and cooler if Julius appeared more European. I mean, she has pink hair. I'm not sure. And it would have been also interesting if she could also speak the European language she is from. And in this, world, a new country was made in Europe, in between, I believe, France and Spain, and also made up of part of the Czech Republic. So it would have been interesting if she could speak Czech. Would have been cool. Would have made the show a little bit more. Would have made the show stand out more. So going on with characters, next character is Claudia Enfield. Claudia, she's the president of the student council in SEIDOUKAN Academy. Now she's a very interesting character. Throughout the show, we don't really get to see much about her, even though in the beginning of the show, she does get, scenes here and there, but isn't there a lot in the show. But in the scenes, she's very, kind of like a friendly character, like too friendly with AYATO. She likes to get real close to him, and she definitely likes to, mess with him by flirting with him, which is, and of course, AYATO, the nice guy, doesn't want any of that. I don't know why. But you know, she's here and there throughout the show. Definitely at the second season, towards the end, she definitely gets a good. Uh, she gets, you know, sort of like a scenes here and there, but not too much, which is kind of a bit of a downside to the show. I would have definitely liked to see more of her, but I see kind of why they didn't do that. So I'm not counting it against the show. I'll get to that bit later on. But she definitely is a very interesting character, especially with her weapon of choice. Her alias, which is another name for these weapons that very powerful students use in battle. Her alias is a very unique one. This is due to the fact that every time the wielder of the weapon falls asleep, they dream of dying. And in the show, she mentions to Ayato if you know, he's ever felt death, and you know, Ayato says no, and you know, she tells him that she has, like, I think like 1,000 times she felt that she died. So very interesting. She's a very strong character. She puts out a very good aurora around her, but we can tell it throughout the show that she's, you know, hiding secrets and hiding a lot of stuff and keeping it in. So I kind of like that about her. And we get to see this in episode 11 of the first season, which it's a small scene, but we get, you know, you get to see a different side of her when she's mad. So next character is KIRIN TOUDOU. KIRIN is a 13-year-old girl that's also enrolled in SEIDOUKAN Academy. And in the beginning of the show, I believe episode 3, 4, or 5, in the earlier episodes, she being 13 is the #1 strong student in the academy. And of course, Ayato, the nice guy, doesn't know it. She gets into a bit of an argument with her uncle, and her uncle comes in and, you know, was about to hit her, and Ayato, being our nice guy, stops him. He gets into it, and you know, it escalates with him having to battle her, KIRIN. So without knowing that Ayato, that she is the #1 student, most powerful one in the school, he ends up fighting her, and it's a very close match. And in that battle, I gotta say, you get a first glimpse on what the animation is, you know, how it kind of looks, which looks amazing. Of course, it's done by A1 Pictures. Any show they do, in my opinion, looks amazing, looks great, which, you know, they always do a really good job on animating fight scenes. And in this very first fight scene, that's very kind of long, or I should say drags out, you get to see, you know, Ayato and her duel it out, and I gotta say, very amazing. And I also like when in combat, the students name out kind of like their name of their strike. And Ayato, he does come from a kendo family, if you want to say that, and very interesting, those names. But anyways, back to her, KIRIN. She's a very shy girl, a very timid girl. She is 13, and she's very, you know, shy. And of course, she likes our main protagonist, Ayato. But to shine a bit more light into her and her character, the anime does give her a full episode to herself and another character, which I will mention later, and which is very cool. They gave her, you know, a character to kind of interact with. We get to see how she feels about fighting, that she likes it, or she doesn't like fighting, but she says that she likes kendo, which is her only good trait that she says. But we get to see, you know, her do stuff in an episode, and in another one, she also ends up becoming friends with Ayato, and they train together. So that's very cool. You know, they gave her 2 episodes, I want to say, but one definitely to herself. The second one was with Ayato and her, which they, you know, train and become a bit closer together. But next is Ayato's childhood friend Saya SASAMIYA. I think I said that right, and it rhymes. But she is the childhood friend of Ayato, which he sees again after several years that they've had apart, because she moved overseas because of her father's work, and her father is a scientist, a mad scientist, like she said. But she sees her the second day of school because the first day she overslept, and she's a very easygoing character. She's very chill, too chill, but she kind of is very chill on stuff. Her talking is very smooth and stretched out, and she takes her time of talking, and her excitement is very low, kind of like that. But anyways, she does get a lot of interaction with Ayato. They both, like I said, they're both childhood friends. They share a lot of flashbacks together. We get to see the flashbacks on how when they were younger, they would play together, do sort of like that. So very interesting. Though, again in the show, she's here and there. She is there a lot in the beginning of the show, the first season, because her and KIRIN, they partner up for the Phoenix Fiesta to fight together. And like I've mentioned with KIRIN, they get an episode to themselves. They go to the city, do stuff, and because they become close together, they decide to fight together. This is due to the fact that I didn't mention, sorry, in KIRIN, but KIRIN, the reason she's fighting is due to the fact that her father was arrested because he ended up killing a normal human, but in a reasonable kind of way. This human person came into the store her and her father were in, and he started assaulting people with a weapon, and her father stepped in and he accidentally killed him. So because the fact that he is not a human, he has powers, he has abilities, he was arrested and trialed and was found guilty of murder, even though it was in self-defense. And KIRIN is fighting so that she can free her father. And on the other side, Saya is fighting for her father too, for pretty much his honor, I would say, to restore her honor, because her father had a bit of a fallback with a company in the show, and he was fired. And he does continue to make weapons and stuff. He makes all these crazy inventions for Saya to fight with, and she's fighting for her father. So they're both fighting for their fathers. They become partners in the fiesta. They make a pretty good duo. KIRIN, she's a swordswoman, while Saya is a long-range fighter. So KIRIN can go in, fight close, and Saya can support her. Very interesting duo. And they do kick ass, but they don't exactly, let's say, meet their goal. So, next character, EISHIRO YABUKI. I think I said that right. I'll put the names of the characters down here, just in case I mispronounced them. Sorry guys if I did, but I'm trying my best. EISHIRO is the friend of AYATO, even though he's rarely in the show. He is there in the beginning of the show, but really there's nothing much to him. We know that he's part of the newspaper club, and that's pretty much it. We see him there, here and there, helping them in certain situations, but all in all, we don't know much about him. We don't really see him in the show. Towards the end, I'm not sure what's happening, but what we do know is he is working with CLAUDIA. He's kind of like her spy or something. He's always collecting information for her. She's always calling him with voice call. So they have something going on, and I'll get to this too a bit, once I'm done with the rest of the characters. So next two characters, two sisters, we have KIRIN and Priscilla. Udasai. There are two sisters in the show, and Irene, KIRIN, whichever way you wanna say her name, she is becomes an enemy to AYATO and Julius in the first season, and they do end up fighting in the fiesta, but Of course, Ayato wins, but she's a very interesting character, and her backstory and her sister's backstory. But they are very interesting characters, sisters. Edine, she is the older sister of Priscilla, but they're very close sisters. In the show, we get to see a flashback of them. Uh, it's very interesting how or why Edine did what she did. Taking on this power of hers, which sort of transforms her into a vampire. And Priscilla is her host, but Priscilla she has regeneration powers, so it's not a big issue when Priscilla gets her blood taken by Edine. But they are very close sisters. We get to see that on the show. They're really close. Here and there we get scenes of them being very good sisters. And we do get to see them fight Ayato and Julius. And I gotta say that fight though was really good. But moving on. And our last two main, I would say, characters in the show. They are, believe me, there are more characters in the show, but to make this a bit more shorter, I'm trying to get to these as fast as I can because there are a lot of characters. The one I've mentioned, there are a lot, and there's more. But the ones I've mentioned and the ones I'm going to mention now are the, I want to say the ones that are the most important in the show. So we have ARD and RMC. Now these two, they're funny. These two, they're robots, but they're not regular robots or puppets. They have I would say a will of their own. They have self-consciousness, even though they're robots. So this is a very interesting, topic, but they don't get into it in the show. But they sort of do by who created them. Now, these two are fighting on behalf of their two quote-unquote masters that created them, ERNESTA KUHNE, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, and Camilla, sorry, Parrot. I'll write their names down here, or should be over here in the corner somewhere. But they're fighting for them I should say in the place of them, and they're very funny partners. ARD is the male robot, and he's a very interesting robot. He likes to joke around. He's very I don't know, it's weird. He's he puts out his chest, and he acts, he acts funny. He acts goofy. While RMC, she's very calm and serious. She's the female robot, and she's always hitting him in the head, telling him to stop fooling around, to stop acting like a fool. So they're very interesting robots, and they do work well together, and we do get to see two fights that they're in, and they fight KIRIN and Saya, and they also fight Ayato and Julius. So those are the characters. Moving on. So let me talk about the show, things I liked, didn't like. So because due to the fact that this show is a 2-season anime, these characters definitely do get somewhat of a good amount of screen time. Meaning you get to see the characters, how they interact with each other, how they become friends. And this is a very good thing about the show, a very plus side to the show. Now, I also like the animation of the show. Looks great. A1 Pictures did amazing on the fight scenes. Literally, every time there was a fight scene, I was hyped. It was insane. I found myself wanting to watch the next episode. I was like, oh, I got 30 minutes before, I have to do something else. Why don't I watch an episode? So this is definitely a good thing of the show that really brought me in towards the action. The action was really great. Also, the music on the show, there's not much, but it was good as well. The opening for the first season and second season were great. In my opinion, the second opening of the second season was a bit better. It was a bit more action-like, especially the animation of the opening song. How it looked more like it looked like a stadium where the stadium where they would fight. Very cool. It really got me going to see the episode. And the ending songs were good too, the first season, second season, but my favorite one was the first season ending song. It every time that it came on, I would just calm. It was a very calming song, and I liked it. And I also liked the way at the end of each episode, it kind of went into the ending song. I like that. It's very cool that shows do that. I've seen several, not several, but a couple shows that have done that. Not many, but this is one of them. That once the all the action, everything of that show or of that episode is done, it goes right into the ending song, and I like that. It was great. Also, the character designs were a bit of an issue I had. They do look very generic. They don't have stuff that make them like Claudia. I swear I've seen her character in another show, and it's driving me crazy. I don't know, I can't put it down or pin it down, but I know I've seen that character before. But probably it's just my imagination. But the characters, they're not great the way they look, but they are decent to the show. So an issue that I had with the show was that in the second season, after certain events, I'm not gonna spoil it, AYATO, Julius, KIRIN, Claudia, Saya, they all go to Julia's home country in Europe, and the issue I had with that was that they spoke to everybody like it was nothing. It would have been very interesting for them in the show to show that they only spoke Japanese. They didn't speak French, German, Czech. So it would have been interesting for them to have a language barrier between them and other people, but they don't. They end up talking to people there like, oh, it's okay, we all speak the same language. But they might have, maybe in the manga, or well, I should say light novel, because it is adapted from a light novel, that in the light novel they said maybe there's something with the magic thing that lets everybody understand the same language, but they don't in the anime. So they end up speaking to people from Europe like it's no problem. So that was a bit of an issue I had with the show. But positive to the show that I liked was that most of the characters that fought in the Phoenix Fiesta, they all got a bit of a backstory, a bit of a flashback to them, so that we see why they fight. Now, the show didn't have to do that. Granted, they weren't that long, probably about a minute or so, 2 to 3 minutes, but I definitely think it did help the show that at least they tried to give these characters a bit of a will to fight that we see, in the anime. So, all in all, guys, the Aesthetic Wars is a very interesting show, very unique show, and while I was watching it, I definitely had a really good time watching it. I found myself very interested on watching the next episode, how the Phoenix Fiesta would turn out, who would win. It was a very good show. I had a really good time watching it, and I've seen several reviews of the first season of the show, people banging on the show that, oh, it's so generic, and it is to an extent, but they forget to look at all of the show itself, everything they have to bring to it, the music, the action, all of this together doesn't make it as a bad of a show as people say. In my opinion, I really had a good time and I enjoyed the show. So I'm gonna give the Aesthetic Wars a 4 out of 5 stars. It is a good anime. I believe that if you do have time to watch, go ahead, watch it, see for yourself. And at the end, think of it as you wish. But for me, I really had a good time watching the show. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching my review. I hope you found it, informational. I hope I convinced you to watch it, because right now you can watch it on Crunchyroll. I'll put a link in the description to take you to the Crunchyroll website, where you can sign up for a Crunchyroll account, which is amazing. in Crunchyroll, they have a huge list of animes that you can, you know, pick out and watch. Not only the Aesthetic Wars, but you can, you know, watch all of these different shows. You can also watch this on Daisuki, which is another app that you can get on your smartphone or on your mobile phone, and or you can go to the website daisuki.com. I'll leave a link in the description where you can go to that too. You can watch it there. Well, anyway guys, thanks for watching my review. I hope you liked it. Leave a like if you did, and if you know, like this review and like what I'm doing with my channel, definitely subscribe. I'm definitely gonna put out more videos out there, more reviews, more unboxing videos, sort of like that, stuff like that. Well, anyway guys, sorry if this review is really long. I apologize. I tried to get to it as fast as I could, putting in all the information I could and, you know, keep moving with it. But, you know, anyway guys, thanks for watching and see you next time.